The Coaching Hour with Tumelo Tolakai
on Zoe Live Radio. www.zoeliveradio.co.za.
Yeah. Good evening. Welcome to the Coaching Hour. I'm your host, Khensani Chauke. It's Tuesday night, date night with me, Khensani. We all know what we do on Tuesday nights. Tuesday nights, we have this platform to learn, to empower, and to get self-development. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, and share the show. So tonight, we are going to speak about youth mental health. On Thursday, we will be celebrating youth. What does the celebration of the 16th June mean to many of the youth in South Africa? Some of us, we don't understand why are we celebrating. The other generation also don't understand why are we celebrating the 16th. So we are here tonight with the coach Nonhlanhla Mthembu. She is the advocate for women, advocate for the youth. She is so busy, and currently she's running a show on Ep17. We're going to speak more also about that. She's going to tell us what happens behind the scenes. And today we are speaking with her she is in Durban as we speak now. She's working from that side. Coach Nonhlanhla, welcome to the show. Good evening, and how are you?
Khensani, good evening. Good evening to you. I didn't know you have such a long profile, yeah. I also did not know. I also just did not know there's so much about me that could be mentioned in an introduction. But yeah, everything you've said about me is true. More than anything, one of my favorite hats, the one that I wear 24 hours, is that one of being a youth mentor and coach. It is a space I love very much. And thank you so much for inviting me again on the show. I think I said it last year that this feels like home because you guys have invited me a couple of times and I really feel like it is home. Thank you so much for having me again tonight. I really look forward to sharing my insights, my understanding, and my experience, especially in terms of youth mental health.
Yeah, welcome to the show, Coach, and thank you so much for coming through tonight. Guys, as you know, we need you to go. I need you to go because I always document when I'm learning. So grab your cup of tea, your pen, and your notepad or a paper where you can write all the information that is shared here. And one thing that I must share about Nonhlanhla is that we met, I think it was 2017, if I'm not mistaken, in Joburg, Omonde. I was training there, and she walked into my training room. At that moment, I didn't know who Nonhlanhla was and all that. And she sat down in my class, and I continued to facilitate whatever that I was doing at the time. And during lunch, she came to me and said, "Hi, my name is Nonhlanhla." And then I said, "No, my name is Khensani." She was like, "Pleased to meet you." I said, "Pleased to meet you too." I was like, "Yo, I did enjoy your class. Are you new here at Holland?" And then I said, "Yes." And later on, I think a week later, I saw her at Holland, in the Holland offices. And I was like, "Who is this lady?" Then we met again and we spoke ever since we connected until today. She's one woman who's close to my heart. You know, there are women that you meet and they disappear on you, but Nonhlanhla has been there from the first day we met until today. She's also one of my mentors when it comes to youth development because we run personal development on the youth and all that, but she is more involved more than me when it comes to youth. So I meet youth in the training rooms, and then she goes out there and look for youth. Coach, are you here?
I am here. Sorry, I was just off screen to just quickly powder myself. These things need you to be very prepared, hey?
You look so beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks,
yes,
Khensani.
Coach, we're discussing mental health. What is mental health when it comes to, what does mental health, what can I say? When we look at the youth, right?
Yeah.
How do you identify if someone has a mental illness without telling you that they have mental issues?
Okay. Khensani, thank you very much for that question. And I'm going to really just try and give a background why I believe mental health is not a sickness. It is either more of or lack of that which one needs to actually be in a good mental state. Now, here's what I would like to point out. On Thursday, we'll be celebrating Youth Day, which is a day that is famously known for the death of Hector Peterson. Now, Hector Peterson died at the age of 12 years. And we concentrate so much on celebrating this day, looking at the struggles that the youth of 1976 had. All and well, that is necessary. We need to do that because we need to have a point of reference. Our children need to have a point of reference and be able to look back and see how things have developed. The one thing that we need to not forget is the fact that today's youth have their own struggles. And there is no way we are going to compare their struggles now to what the youth of 1976 did. Now, Hector Peterson, without going very much into history, my question would be now to parents, and this is really directed to parents, what are our 12-year-olds doing? Are they not finding themselves in the same situation where Hector Peterson was to eventually meet his untimely death? Our 12-year-olds are very much at risk of meeting circumstances or finding themselves in situations that could lead to their untimely death. Why am I saying that? We have 12-year-olds that are exposed to drugs. We have 12-year-olds that are exposed to lack of love. Now that brings me to my point of discussion today, to say the one thing that will cure what people today refer as mental illness amongst young people is love. Now, as parents, we need to look at how our 12-year-olds, and I'm stressing and continuing to repeat the age 12, because we always think youth are our young adults who are currently facing unemployment, young adults who are indulging in alcohol and parties, and we forget that there are 12-year-olds who need grooming, who need love, who need a good state of mental positivity that will actually help them to avoid the problems that we are facing today, problems amongst your early 20s to your early 30s, where everybody's concentrating. I am saying, let us embrace the fresh youth, which is your teens, your 12-year-olds, and think back to what was happening to Hector Peterson at the time. One could argue in today's times and period, we could argue, what is a 12-year-old doing in the street to even be met by a bullet? I'm not comparing anything that was happening back then, but I'm saying today we have 12-year-olds that are roaming the streets uncared for. We have 12-year-olds that are taking care of their families because the parents are too busy right? We have 12-year-olds that are doing drugs. We have 12-year-olds that are having babies. And that should not be happening. That should not be happening if we would not let go of our responsibility to nurture our children, to take care of them, to make sure that we are considerate even of the things that we say to them. Because a 12-year-old is fresh from the age where, as a child, they're depending on a parent, whether it's to do or is to say. Fully dependent on a parent. From when you are a child, you look at what your parents are doing, you listen to what they're saying. Everything else around you influences you. But by the time you get to 12, you start recognizing who you are, and you then develop what we called self-realization. And during that time, you then choose from what you have learned, observing situations around you, and taking what the world is showing you. You should see how 12, 13, 14-year-olds are eager to learn, and they grab anything that is out there for them to watch and see and learn from. And that's a critical age, because then we need to be feeding their minds with positivity. There's 12-year-olds who lack confidence because nobody told them when they were 10, 9, 7 that you're beautiful. You can achieve anything. And I'm one parent who doesn't only believe in the fact that I need to teach my children to believe in themselves and they can achieve anything. It goes beyond that. What if they cannot? What if they can't? I also need to teach my children. We need to teach our little ones, 12-year-old ones, to say, look, if you cannot do it, you cannot do it. But that doesn't mean you're a failure. There's other things that you can achieve. So mental health, yes, is about injecting positivity into our children. But I'm saying there's also negative things that they need to know how they exist, right? We cannot be living in a world where we are saying, no, be motivated, wake up every day, speak positively, eat what. There will always be negative things. But then we need to teach our children to be able to differentiate between the two and to know what is it that they can do when failure hits the fan, because it will happen.
A reality kicks in. So, yeah. Coach, there are a few of our viewers and listeners, they've never met you before. They don't know who Nonhlanhla is. Yes. Will you kindly introduce yourself so that they can know and understand who Nonhlanhla is and what does she do?
Okay. Thank you, Khensani. You see, now I went too deep even without introducing myself. And I told you, Corey, it's because I feel at home here. I now have this thing for that people know me here. But yeah.
Not everyone.
As mentioned, my name is Nonhlanhla Whip Mtembo. I really love Whip. It is a name that describes who I am. It describes the mission that I'm on in this life, which is woman in progress. And that woman doesn't really speak to just the female counterpart. It also involves men, because in the word itself, woman, there is men in there. So I really embrace that name because I believe that in this world, we are all on a journey. It is a progress. And it always counts to consider the fact that you are actually progressing daily. I am a child counselor. I have done child psychology to an extent that has made me comfortable to consider myself a youth life coach. I also do public speaking. I do training. As you were saying, we met in that space, Nalwena. And also on another professional level, I am a TV producer. I work on one of the shows at SABC.
And the name of the show that you're currently working on, what is it?
Thank you. I produce for Stories Untold, which is a beautiful show that actually profiles people who are doing amazing work in their communities. It is not called Untold Stories for nothing. It really is a show that seeks to go out there and find those stories that have not been told, and we share them with our viewers, all in the name of encouraging people and motivating them to say each one for the next, and it only takes a step to help a community. So if we can all gear up to making a difference in our little corners, the world will be a better place. And that's what the show believes in.
So true. That's lovely. I know you are in the space where I know you love telling stories.
I do. I really do. It's a space that I really enjoy. I must be honest.
Yeah. So, Coach, will you share a little story or a little about your journey? What motivated you to become a coach? What motivated you to specifically pick youth as your main focus?
Yeah. Khensani, my story starts back when I was 14 and falling pregnant at that age. At the time, I did not know this is where I will be today. But as I grew and looked back at my life, God gave me, and it really did come from Him to say, you know what, tell the story. And it all started as me just telling my story, relating to people. What happened to the 14-year-old? You know, what happened to the 15-year-olds that became a mother? What happened to the 19-year-olds that was misunderstood and struggling to come to terms with motherhood and also remaining a teenager, fully participating and living a complete life as a young person? All of that confusion led me to making a lot of mistakes in life. But then again, it also taught me so much. And I then took a decision in my early 30s that I am going to start sharing my story. And through the journey of sharing my story, I then saw people come back to me with feedback to say, you told us how you did it. You told us how you survived or even failed at some point. I'm going through the same. How can you help me? And I knew that I then needed to change my message to be in such a way that it is shared as a lesson, especially amongst young people, to say, you don't have to have it hard as I did. Let me relate my story to you. Take a leaf out of it so that you do better in your own space, right? So that is how I then started doing this work. And it has really become a part of me because it's so fulfilling to know that just by me sharing my story, I open somebody else's heart to a pain that they've kept. I open a parent's mind to how they can treat their own daughters when they do happen to have children at a young age like I did. Because I've seen a lot of girls get consumed in their mistakes because parents have not been supportive enough, you know. And it is through me sharing my story that today I run a coaching and mentorship business that has really given me fulfillment when I see how I can help young people and parents as well, you know, just by relating the story, highlighting the blind spots that I ignored so that other people can actually do better.
Yeah, you're doing an awesome work, Coach. And as you were saying, I was writing a question down. My question will be: how do you envision your career growth over the next 5 years?
Oh, oh wow! Okay. So in the next 5 years, what I see today would be a testimony. I'll tell you why I'm saying that. And I've seen this happen in the past 5 years as well, where I meet young people, whether they're still at school or wherever we meet. And 5 years later, I still have contact with them, and half of them. And honestly, maybe half of it is me just putting it mildly. It could be more than that. But I'd say half or more of them have started doing what I am doing. So in the next 5 years, again, I see myself observing young people who have been through my hands doing an even better job in helping their peers, right? One thing that I think as people, and not just coaches, but as people, one thing that we need to look forward to is us multiplying. And I'm seeing that while I'm still alive. We've had this line said, especially when iconic people die, that, oh no, they don't die, they multiply. I am seeing that multiplication even while I'm still alive. And I really embrace that. So in the next 5 years, I would really like to see a couple of non-Tlantlas coming out in all the towns that I've been, in all the places where I've been. I'd like to see girls take on the responsibility of helping their peers. One thing about young people is that they hear each other better. And one of the things that makes this work so exciting and so fulfilling for me is that I always invest in trying to understand them. Then I'm able to talk their language. Then I'm able to, sometimes I take it a bit further and even dress like them. But yeah, I always want to be one of them because they really do connect easily. You know, when you make them feel welcome and when you are one of them, right? I think one of the things that we've dealt with, especially when it comes to child and parent relationship, is us as parent really wanting to play an instructor. And that's not the best way to deal with it. So yeah, in the next 5 years, I'd really like to see myself still being able to connect with young people, but also having groomed other young people to take up space in coaching each other, in helping each other, in advising each other better. So yeah, I'd still like to see myself multiplying.
That's wonderful. And tell me about a time when you had to make a difficult decision.
Whew. Oh, Khensani, there's been a couple, hey? There's been a couple, but I'm going to touch on one that is very sensitive, and I do believe that it's a topic that we should not shy away from. So there was a time when I had to take steps towards a very selfish decision. It wasn't selfish at the time. And I'm saying that boldly so because one thing I've learned about us sharing our stories is that we need to be as authentic as possible. There was a time when in my life, I was so selfish that having an abortion was the best way out for me, you know, at the time. And I keep repeating at the time because I have now grown. I have now built and developed such a strong relationship with God that I know who He is in my life and I know what He has done for me. And one of the best things that He has given me is forgiveness. And one of the things that He has forgiven me from is having an abortion. I was young, I was naive, but more than anything, I was selfish because I made that decision for myself. I did not consider anyone. And today, as I grow in my relationship with God, and I know Him to be a Father who knew me before He formed me in my mother's womb, I know now that I killed what He knew before He formed in my womb, right? And I am walking in His forgiveness. Thank you to Jesus for that. But the reason why I'm sharing this story is because I know there's young girls out there who do things and they think abortion is going to be their way out. I now advocate against that because I know what it did to me. I lived with that guilt for a very long time. Finding myself in Christ was one way in which I could actually set myself free of that guilt. right? It was a very difficult decision to make at the time. I was young. I couldn't even share with my parents. I couldn't even share with friends. I had to make means of getting finances to go and do that. But as difficult as that decision was, selfishly so, I did go ahead with it. I regret the decision today, but more than anything, I am teaching against abortion because it goes beyond just you getting rid of a fetus. It's you getting rid of something that God knew before he deposited it into your womb. And that is why I always preach to girls and boys to stay away from sexual activities, because that's where it starts. So there will be no reason for me to even start educating people on good or bad abortion. Let's just not even get there. And that is my message to young people, because I know how difficult that decision was. And I know it was not only just a one-day decision. That thing lived with me for years. It destroyed so many things in me. At some point, I was even worried if I'll be able to still have more children, because it wasn't really the safest of abortions that I had.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that is a powerful story. And I do believe that the youth that you're working with, they do benefit a lot out of your experience, and they see it close to home than hearing somebody talking about it without experience. And I believe that God has ordained you knowing that you'll be a living testimony to them, and you'll be their referral, that if I got out of this, you can also do the same. You don't have to stay in the corner and make reckless decisions and blame yourself later. Because one thing I've realized about the devil is, once you repent as a person and wants to start a new life, what the devil does to get you in that corner for you not to blossom in this salvation is he will remind you of the mistakes that you made in the past and tell you that who do you think will listen to you if you have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah. So most of the youth, they struggle with that. No, Khensani, I hear you, but I think I've seen enough. Like, the sin that I'm living with doesn't want to leave me. And I always tell them that no, it's not that. It's the devil that is whispering in your ears and telling you that you are not worthy to be the child of God. You are not pure. And the Bible says, like, no condemnation to those who love the Lord. So it's only God who can wash you clean like a snow, and live in him and trust in him, and all your sins will be forgiven. Yo, Coach, that was so big. Was so big. And another thing that I've realized with a lot of people is they don't want to share true testimonies. And the Bible teaches us again that our lives is a living testimony. If you don't share the real testimony and challenges that you went through in life, how will you be able to help those who are living in that and believing that there's no way out? Exactly. So I'm so glad that, in all your storytelling, you're always authentic. You are so truthful. That's why the young people are always with you. Like, sometimes I'll look I'll look at you on social media, and I was like, wow, God, you have done it. The way they always around you. And I remember there was another event that we had back then. It was Take a Girl Child to work, and
I remember that.
Yes, you were organizing it, and you were doing so wonderfully. And I was like, yo, God, you know what? Yeah, we have met a legend, and now I'm glad I'm still with you, because I'm still learning a lot from you. So another question that I have, Ne, what advice will you give parents who are dealing with a difficult teenager? I can say rebellious teenager.
Okay, thank you, Khensani. As I was saying earlier on, that there was a time as a teenager where I felt like I was the most misunderstood child, where I felt like people did not understand what I wanted. There was some type of attention that I needed, which I could not get at home. There was some type of attention that I needed with friends, which I also could not get because half of them would not be able to relate with me freely. So there's a lot of confusion that I've been through. And that is why when I speak to parents and I advise them on how they can handle difficult teenagers, because they can be difficult. And you know what? I'm only using this word difficult because I want parents to understand me. But my babies know that. I always tell them, for guys, as Tina, we are just the most misunderstood. And I also still regard myself as a teen. Pelamina, I did not leave my teens completely because half the time I was a mother, right? So that is why I carry my youthness with me throughout. So when I'm with my babies, we are all young. So we are like, oh, guys, our parents don't understand us. I also count myself as that youth. But here's an advice that I'll give to parents. Never ever do anything out of love when it comes to children. Never ever do anything outside of love when it comes to children. Why am I saying that? We like to discipline our children from, number one, from a place of guilt. Number two, from a place of wanting to prove ourselves. Number three, from a place of correction. Most parents want to discipline their children so that baskaba as bad as they were, right? Because now I want my children to reflect the better life that I failed to live myself. I become so strict to Mobaneng because I want them to do things the way I could not even. And I'm not saying the parents should limit their children. All I'm saying is that whatever you do it from a place of love. What love will do is that, number one, it will guide you to understanding the need of this child. Because children don't just wake up and become difficult. They're either difficult because there's something that they lack. Some of us are single, are raising our children as single people. And I'm really getting my words right here because I don't like using the term single parent. I am not a single parent because God is there, but I am a single person raising children, right? Now, what we do, especially if we are under such circumstances, we want to raise our children, and whenever something is wrong, we compare them to the absent parent, right? As a mother, I will then want to discipline my child and say, who the poor child doesn't even know, But then another thing, even when both parents are there, once you put yourself out of love when you discipline one, it's a problem, because what young people need more than anything is an embrace. And one parent once asked me, smelling cigarette, you want me to hug them and embrace them? I said, yes. Hug them and embrace them and ask them, what is it that kept them there? Is it because of uncomfortable muntu? Maybe there's something that they're dealing with internally that you don't understand. So do not look at what they're doing at the time. Start digging deep and understand where there is a place of need in them. And once you get to that, you will know what is causing them to be difficult. They are rebellious. And they are rebellious because even from the age of 7, whenever they break a cup, on the side. Whenever they are late from school, nobody says anything. You understand? And now you ask yourself, a child like that, how will they behave when they get to solving their own problems? Now you tell me, what is it that they're going to do when it comes to them solving their own problems? Because whenever there was a problem at home, then there was corporal punishment, which is not the way to do it. because a lot of parents have missed knowing what is the problem with their children. There's a parent that I helped with their daughter, and all along they were just thinking the daughter is disrespectful. She's always just doing things her own way. When the mother talks to her, she doesn't listen. And when I put the two together and we sat and we started having these sessions, it then came out that the daughter was actually questioning the mother's behavior outside being mom in the house. Because remember, our children observe what we do. So if you go out there and you are not the mother that your children know at home, holy kontle, you are something else, right? We make poor decisions sometimes, Lerola, as parents. We get involved with wrong people. We settle for abuse in the hands of our boyfriends and everything. That is going to make my daughter lose respect, Mona. And that's exactly what the child was going through. The child felt that you are giving yourself in the hands of an abuser. You're not doing anything about it. How am I going to respect you? You understand? So there's so many things that parents really need to look out for to understand why their children are the way they are. But I'm saying your first point of contact, can it please be love? Embrace your child. Sit down with them. Allow them to be able to open up to you. There's children who don't like school simply because they've been abused by a teacher at school. And the parent spends the whole 4 years without even understanding why their child doesn't want to go to school, because they've never given themselves an opportunity to sit down with this child and ask them, how is school? Don't question things when they're wrong. Make it a habit. Every day, ask your child, how is school? What did you do today? Writing homeworks and writing tests are not the only thing that they do at school. They have relationships with their teachers because they spend over 7 hours with them. Ask them, how is it? How are your teachers? So that you understand what type of relationships your child is having at school. And then you'll be able to point out those things that don't sit well with your child. And once you discover the source of their behavior, I'm telling you, you're halfway there.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, it is so true what you're saying. And another thing is, I know you spend a lot of time with the youth, and to such an extent that you are able to, in my thinking, you are able to notice a lot of things that they're going through. And I want to find out from you that how do you respond when you notice signs of drug abuse or other destructive behavior? Because like as we speak about mental health, I know it's not easy to just look at someone and say they have a mental health problem. There will be certain things that drives them, or they will expose themselves with certain substances that they use or a certain behavior. So how do you identify that?
Okay. As I was saying, that one of the things that really helped me with young people is to be amongst them and be one of them. Mm-hmm. And when I'm in that space, I've not been lucky, it's always doing things with the help of the Holy Spirit, to say, God, please help me to be the light where there's darkness, And I've really been blessed enough to be able to see or identify children that are going through some things. Number one, young people are very open. Young people amongst themselves, that is, right? I know there's a lot of parents who will beg to differ, but I'm saying amongst themselves, they are very friendly, they're very open. Now and then I do meet children that keep to themselves and they're not really so outgoing. And I've been lucky enough to be able, and also, let me say again, blessed enough to be able to have ways to allow them to open up. And the first thing that would be me giving them the comfort to say, number one, you can trust me. I have not been in some of the parents' good books because there are deals that I go into these young children where they're like, okay, Sis Nonhlanhla, you can't tell my mom about this. I would never keep any information from a parent that could help them help their own child. But one thing that I always teach parents is that children deserve their privacy. But anyway, back to your question again, Khensani. When I identify signs, number one, that make me realize that a child cannot open up as easy as they should, I then always apply what I call creating a safety place. Once you create a safety place, and that is in their mind, you give them the assurance that their voice is heard. Because even when they're not saying anything, they're saying so much in them. So give them that confirmation to say whatever it is that you're thinking, whatever it is that is going on in your heart or in your mind. If you validate it, it's okay. It's okay. But remember, everything that we know, everything that we think does not only end with our validation. You need another opinion. So whatever it is, allow me to listen to that. If you don't want me to give you an opinion about it, or if you don't want me to give you an answer about it, it's okay. But for now, just allow me to hear your silent thoughts. And that is you creating a safe environment. Now, one of the worst things that I have met in that process where I've tried to make young people open up about things is a girl who said to me, okay, now that you've pushed me to this comfortable state of wanting to tell you about what I'm thinking, here it is. I also had a child as a teenager, just like you. But now the child is my uncle's child. And the family has not been able to do anything about it because uncle is actually one of the breadwinners in the family. That was very heavy on me. But I still needed to remain professional in my work. And I had to, through the school, because I'd met this child at the school where I spoke. Through the school, I had to get permission to speak to the parents. The child was still a minor, less than 18, so I could not take the matter up with them. I had to involve the family and say, there are ways you can be able to help this child. There is the offices of social workers where this child can be able to get professional help. As much as I am a qualified child counselor, I needed to make sure that that child get assistance from their local office so that even when I leave, they can still have continuity in their help. Number two, I also had to advise the family that this was a matter that needed to be reported with the authorities. Unfortunately, really unfortunately on my side, the family was not willing to do any of the things I had advised them to do. So one of those things will happen when you do go deeper into digging and noticing some of these wrong things about young people, is that you'll be met by circumstances that are so difficult that you walk away feeling like you did not help the situation. Because honestly, I walked away from that situation feeling like I was useless. I did not do anything to help this child, but I actually did. It's only that because they are a minor, unfortunately, I needed to get permission from the family to be able to take things further. But then again, on a positive note, there has been a time where I was met with a very difficult situation between myself and one of my young mentees. She was in her early 20s. She wanted to actually have an abortion. She had made up her mind that she wanted an abortion. She had not informed the boyfriend about the child or anything. And I was brave enough to go against that so harshly. And I'm not saying harshly in a harsh way, but I was so adamant with my advice. I had to put my foot down with her. She was my baby. She has been my mentee from when she was in high school. She was now, at the time, She was now doing her second year. And I really had to set my foot down and say, you know what? I do not believe in that. I don't care about all the reasons you're giving me. Even one of the reasons, which included the fact that she was on NSFAS, and should anything go wrong with her at school, she's going to lose those funds. I said, I don't care what reasons are. I am so against that. And for some months, she did not speak to me. Now, I always allow even young people and people in general, I always allow people the freedom to decide what they want to do. And I let her be, because she had decided to stop our mentorship. So I said, okay, that is it. But glory be to God, if I can tell you that the past 2 weeks we've been talking, and the reason why we are talking is because she has started posting pictures of a baby on her WhatsApp status, and that is one of my grandchildren.
Wow. Youth is dealing with a lot, I must say. They're dealing with a lot. I remember also in when I was growing up, like I lost my mom when I was 17 years old. And at the time, things were not accessible as now. Like you will have to deal with the pain, deal with the challenges, and it was very hard to reach and find help. Like nowadays help is everywhere. You are able to get help if you want to, because even though help is offered, you still need to decide to reach out yourself and say, guys, I'm stuck. I need help. How can I move from where I am today to the next level? And I'm so glad that you are closing that gap that I felt back then. Even though I wasn't a difficult teenager, but I needed someone. I needed someone to be there for me, and someone I can talk to, someone who can, like the way you're spending time with your teens and all that, and like I'm a bit teary.
I'm sorry about that.
But what you're doing, it touches my heart that you even go deep and finding out and offering help to the family and showing them steps that they can take. It's not everyone who does that. And a lot of families, I believe, they still need you. A lot of teens need you out there. They need help. And I believe through this, they will be able to reach out to you, and I know that you'll help them further with their challenges. And another thing that I want us to talk about is when we started, you did explain a bit of the reason why we're celebrating June 16, and looking into from the day the event happened, right? And
yes,
us continuing each and every year celebrating that day and looking into the government, looking into the education system. Do you think they are doing enough to make sure that they raise, like South Africa raise sustainable youth?
Okay. Khensani, thanks. I'm going to throw a couple of questions out in trying to respond to that. And my first question would be, who is doing that? Who is South Africa? Is the government responsible for that? Our political leaders, are they the ones responsible for that? Whatever change it is that we want to see for our children, is the education system responsible for bringing that forth? And my answer will be to all of those questions, no. Now, it starts with us. And who is us? Us is parents. Us is shows like these. Us is just the ordinary men and women in the street, knowing that young people, more than anything, they need support. And how do they get that support? We have young people who are now flooding our villages, flooding our makasiwetu with small businesses. Are we really doing enough to, number one, support them? Number two, to upgrade them? Because some of us have failed in these businesses before, and we are now in our 40s. But when I see a young person wanting to do something that I did before, do I even take time to advise them? Or are we just waiting for the government to pump in funds into young people who don't have a clue about business plans, who don't have a clue about marketing? Me and you have been in the marketing space for such a long time. If you see that guy who's selling muffins at the corner, have we ever given ourselves time to advise that person how they can actually thrive in their business purely by doing the best when it comes to maintaining client relationship? Those are some of the things that we can actually give for free to young people. Young people need support, and they need support right from home. Some of us have children that are not academically gifted, but they have other things that they can thrive in and are able to do to live a life that is financially sustainable and is full of progress. But we don't want to do that because all of us believe that if my neighbor's child became a doctor, then it means my children now need to be professors. And we can't be continuing with that mentality and denying our children an opportunity to actually try new things. I am not saying all children should go and now be artists, but I am saying how many parents are actually embracing the artist in their 12-year-old at home today. Have you ever taken time to actually notice what are the things that your child love? What if you are raising a ballerina princess, right? And here you are wanting her to be exactly what your neighbor's child is. So that support really needs to start from home, and we'll be able to actually look at our young people and believe that they actually are going to hold the ropes tomorrow. We shouldn't be sitting back and saying, government is not doing this and this and that for our children. What are we doing for them? Have I invested in my child's business? If my child says he wants to start a business, have I invested in that? Many of us as ladies, we have stokvels. We pay each other 5,000 every month to go and buy that favorite couch you want, or you want to go and buy your pots and your cutleries from, the woman lying on the plate. That's what we want. But how many of us can actually save up to a 10 grand just to support your child in business? How many of us can do that?
Yeah.
And that's where I think our celebration should be. Let us celebrate them. And I'm not saying we are going to forget about Hector Peterson. I'm not saying we're going to forget about what happened in 1976. But I'm saying, come Thursday, can we say we celebrate the youth that we have currently? We come out as South Africa and say, young people, here's our help. I have experience in HR. I have experience in training. How much of that has been invested in a young man's business or a young woman's business? Many of us do have our hair, go have our nails done. Do you even spend that hour that they spend with you doing your nails? Can you at least spend it empowering them somehow in the knowledge that you have? Or we are just going to conclude that young people don't have direction. Where are they supposed to get that direction? And you don't only point at the direction, walk the journey a bit with them so that you understand what steps, what challenges they meet along the way. Don't just point them at the direction and let them go. But more than anything, I'm saying let's go back to the drawing board and just check what is it that we can do for our young people.
Yeah, that is so true, Coach. That's true what you're saying. We just need to be there for them and involve ourselves more and celebrate each other more on the things that we do, especially when it comes to business, and make sure that we empower others and we get them involved, because not everyone is able to get education, especially when we look into the rural areas, in the villages. Who goes there? Who's offering help that side? Oh, it's only us. It's only us here. We're sharing, and the other ones, they don't know what's happening. They just see it on TV. They don't even think that is real. That's why they don't even want to dream out of the village. They will close themselves there and say to themselves that no, our lives will end here. We were born here and everything is going to end here. And when it comes to what ideas do you have to improve our youth programs?
Thanks, Khensani. There's a lot, and you know better that I know that there's a lot of youth programs out there. And many of these youth programs are organized by us, and we call young people to come and listen to us. Can we stop? Can we stop? Let us organize those youth programs and actually sit and listen to young people. They have so much to say. They have so many questions. We just need to sit and listen to them. A lot of these youth programs that are happening are more instructing them what to do, what not to do. Trust me, they know enough of that. I no longer do those sessions where I give out advice in terms of what you should do, what you should not do. No. Once I state my case, I ask them, what is it that you are going through now? I've told you what I was doing when I was 17. Tell me what you are doing. And you'll be surprised how much we can learn from them. One of the first thing and most important things that we will learn from them is what is it that they're dealing with. And let's stop imposing on them what we think we know. So youth programs should be by young people, for young people. Let us be there to support them, give them guides, be that point of reference. But more than anything, we need to get young people to engage, fully engage in their own programs. Because really, for us to sit here and start instructing them what's good for them and what's not, it's not going to work. It is not going to work because we are failing to understand the demon that they are dealing with. Because we are quick to tell them, Tina, in our days we were. Mina, when I was young, I was. They have different challenges altogether. They have different challenges, and we need to understand their world so that we are able to navigate that world with them and not impose on them our world. So more than anything, can youth programs be for, by, and with young people 100% running those? But they will not be able to do that if they don't have us as the support structure. And that's what we need to do. And that is why now in August, I am apologies about that. In August, I am having a young women's session where I intend to sit and listen to what they have to ask. I am done preparing talks for young people. I told myself that when it comes to young people, I am going to go there as an empty vessel. Ask them, how are you? What do you need? What are you facing? And as they pour that with my experience, with God's guidance, then I'm able to navigate their world with them. And that's exactly what I wish and hope that young people's programs could do, and also when it comes to those business seminars and youth workshops, tell them how you will support their business. that being the highlighted word, their business. What is it that they like to do? And how do you intend on supporting them? And let us not force ideas on them and expect them to thrive in that. Can we just listen to what they want and be there to support and guide them through it all?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, after that, I have no words.
No concern.
I have no words. You said it all. You said it all, and we heard you. And we are going to the end of our show. What is it that you want to leave the youth with, especially this year of 2022, as we are 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with just 2 days to celebrating Youth Day. And yeah, what can you say to them?
I've been so blessed again that this month I have been engaging with young people that are actually leading in their own corners where they are. And one thing that I've learned in the past few weeks while doing those interviews with young people and all is that young people are capable. Like Khensani, young people are so capable. We are sitting on gold. We are sitting on a wealth of beauty with young people, and it just needs to be unearthed. And I want to say to them, the stage is very much available. Young people need to shine so much that we as the older generation, we will not ignore them. And as we celebrate June 16 this year, I really want it to be a day where the country as a whole will back up young people. We really need to back them up. I think we've quoted and we've counted enough of the wrongs that they've done. Can we just point out what they're doing right? Stick on that, make it shine, scream about it, celebrate them. And let's see how much change that can bring. I think it's enough now how much we've counted that young people are doing wrong. Can we celebrate the good that we see in our children because it's there? We cannot continue to undermine it purely because we are concentrating on the fact that young people are abusing drugs. Young people are slave queens. Young people are going to Dubai. There's other girls who are not going to Dubai. They are doing our hairs, they are doing our nails, and we don't celebrate them enough. Instead, we go and have headlines after headlines regarding what they are doing wrong. But honestly, if we can just shine the spotlight on the beauty that is amongst young people, I'm telling you, they will be each other's light. They will be each other's example. They will be each other's motivation. Yes, it's okay. They love Gonga. Yes, it's okay. They love Amapiano. But then I'm saying there's so much good in young people that we are not celebrating. We wait until they die before we celebrate them. We celebrate veterans. And I'm not saying we should not celebrate them, but enough now. Enough. Can we find the beauty that is alive now and celebrate that? I'm not saying let's forget about history. All I'm saying is that there's so much beauty in this young generation that we have now that we are sleeping on and we're not celebrating it. And that is why they don't even come out as bold as they should. Because no, Baya Saba, all we've been talking about is how they are going to Dubai, how they are misusing drugs, you know?
Yeah.
So really my message to my peers, us the youth, is to say we still have light in us and let's continue to shine it. As young people, let's continue to shine our light. Do not give up. It does not matter how dark things are around you. Just continue to shine your light. And one day somebody will come and light their own candle on your own shine. And that's just what we need, for each person to be there when one needs to light their own candle, and the light will continue just like that.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Coach, for the word of encouragement. And the other thing, where can the youth reach you? To our viewers and listeners, where can they reach you?
Oh, Khensani, you know what? One day I am going to have this very huge and beautiful place where I'll just say, this is my address. Whoever wants to get in touch, they can come, God will make that possible soon. But for now, I am available on all social media pages, and I'm WIP Mthembu. If you search for WIP Mthembu, that's me. I always try and keep the same profile picture. I don't know if I'm still doing that, but yeah, normally I keep the same profile picture so people can, there's that consistency. But yeah, I am WIP Mthembu on all social media pages. I am normally one person who doesn't mind giving away her number, because that has really connected me to amazing people out there. I've received calls from strangers saying, I am going to commit suicide tonight unless I speak to somebody. And I've been able to be used by God to help people wake up the next morning and say, oh, hi, I'm still alive. So yeah, my number is 060-915-8119. I'll say that again, 060-915-8119. That is my number. I always try to keep my phone on, unless I'm on a Zoom meeting with you like this, then it's off. But yeah, I always try to keep it on. When I do receive messages, I always try my best to also respond as promptly as I possibly can.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming through tonight and showering us with love and leading us into understanding the minds of youth and appreciating things that they do well. And yeah, it's so true that sometimes we don't appreciate things that are done well. We always complain and point out bad things. Like I always say that, when you do something beautiful, we only tell people that are around. Like the world will tell people that are around and close to them. But when you do something bad, the whole world will know that you did something bad, which is the wrong thing, but people do it anyway. So tonight, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask questions on the chat box or the comment box. And if you need help on Facebook, Zoe Life Radio, you can leave your message there. I'll be able to attend to it. And I believe that you also taken the contacts from Coach Nonhlanhla, and she'll be able to reach you and help you whenever you need her. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Coach, thank you so much for coming through tonight and making time for me. I know you are busy. Enjoy Durban. And funny enough, when we started with the show, we were both sick. I was sneezing nonstop, and I'm so shocked that for the past hour I haven't sneezed at all. So it's by God's grace, He's mercy, and He did it for us, for both of us. And yeah, it was funny how we started. Yeah, it's like, I'm not feeling well, I'm teary, I'm sneezing, and she's doing the same. But since we said 1, 2, 3, go. Then God said, no, you will finish this strong, and we did. Thank you guys. It's cold in Joburg. I'm not sure about Durban, but it's cold in Pretoria tonight. And yeah, we thank God for grace and mercy. And guys, don't sit and close yourself off, and don't allow the devil to keep on visiting you and telling you your past. You must just shake that and say, no, I'm over the past and now I'm moving forward, because I tell you, he will remind you of the bad things that you have done. And even if you want to reach out and do what is right, you will feel like, you mustn't do it, because he will say, who will listen to you? Remember, that will be coming from the devil, because the Lord wants you to shine. God will give you confidence to speak out, and God will help you throughout everything. And Coach, thank you so much, and good night from me to the viewers and listeners. Remember, this is a personal development, tuning in each and every Tuesday. It's for your personal development. I believe you learned something from Coach Nonhlanhla tonight. I also did. And share to those who will benefit from the information that you had, and it will be good for them to know that they're not alone. They can get help whenever they need it. And from me, I love you, Coach. You can say good night.
Thank you so much, Khensani, and good night to all your listeners and viewers. It's been a warm evening with you guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to share part of me with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming through. Guys, good night. I love you. Take care of yourself and be kind all the time. And now it's winter, yeah. It's flu season. Like I said, when I started, I was so sneezing nonstop, but I'm feeling much better now. So take care of yourself, eat well, and make sure that you stay warm. And I'll see you again next week, Tuesday. Good night. Bye.
Bye, Khensani.